All right, guys, we're back. So I blame crappy Canada internet. Uh, pause. So my network crapped out on me. Sorry about that. So we are back. As you noticed, I did not teleport or anything. I just changed spots in my house. So I should be closer to my modem and not having any more network issues. So sorry about that. We were talking about that godly Hughes Team Texas, basically in 2013. Not only did it get not canceled, but it also crashed my internet because of awesomeness, you know?
The
So
downloads are just too big. I mean, there's no way
exactly.
your Wi-Fi can handle that type of power. So.
Denver did not want us to talk about it, so they crashed my internet. That's exactly what happened.
I mean, with you two here with me, I probably scored like 500 points in like 2 minutes anyway. So.
All right, so picking up right where we left off, we were talking about that team from
2009.
15, and then you personally, you go after that, after basically like NAC is canceled, you go on hiatus, right? You don't play for a while.
Yeah. So probably from we missed obviously NAC 2009. We signed up in 2010, practiced for a few months, and when we were on the wait list, we stopped. So obviously I didn't play a tournament. So I didn't play a tournament from NAC 2008 until I feel like the Mesa 2-man and Phoenix 4-man in like November 2011. So it was a good while, that I took off. So we knew we'd play NAC in 2012. So in 2011, kind of in the late fall, I started practicing again, and our team started practicing again. And yeah, that Mesa, I think the Phoenix 4-man was like on a Friday, and then the Mesa 2-man was on a Saturday. And those were my first tournaments back. And I was super nervous. I stopped getting nervous, for tournaments for a long time. Like you get like your butterflies and excitement, but typically layoffs in LQ, taking time off historically has never been a good thing.
Yes.
You look at even Lincoln when they took 1 year off from 06 to 08. Some of their players, just weren't quite the same. Just different examples, but so I was nervous. So kind of getting into, and you might ask this about my preparation, but this is probably one of the two examples of when I probably prepared the most, because video was really starting to be brought into Laser Quest a little bit with some of the YouTube, kind of one-on-ones and party room stuff that I was able to find. So for that Mesa tournament, I watched a lot of video because I wanted to see kind of what the styles were, how the game kind of evolved, I guess you can say, what I needed to be ready for. So Mesa really did. They did like a series of 1v1v1s. I don't know if y'all seen them on YouTube.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
I watched those, a ton, and getting ready for that Mesa tournament because I expected to play, Blaze and Scooby, in the finals and see some of those guys. So I wanted to know kind of what their tendencies were. Specifically, I'm looking for like what their opening move is after they've been tagged. I also want to see like where they're most accurate. Is it kind of like high to low, low to high, like where they stop their laser at the highest point, where they stop their laser at the lowest point. So kind of like that tells you kind of where, where they feel their most accurate shots are, and also the range of what you need to look for. So kind of picking that apart for all those different players, specifically Blaze and Scooby, really trying to identify what the patterns are from very different distances is what I look for. And again, specifically the open move, because that will tell you so much if someone is going to lean, to go for a front, what their go-to is. It's very predictable to give you the advantage to help keep them down. And then if you're down, how they like to get that quick tag. Is it a react? Are they baiting the shoulder to tag the laser, or are they baiting the shoulder to open up a front? Are they charging? Are they going to fake charge and pop back to like a 5-foot range? What are they doing to open up targets? So those are all the things that I look for in regard to those Mesa videos prior to that tournament. And so that Phoenix tournament was the 4-man, and I played with Mesa guys. It was actually Blaze, Scooby, and Tezu, and we won that Phoenix 4-man. And then Vince Enemy flew in that next day for the Mesa 2-man, and we played Blaze and Scooby in finals, and also Kyle and Shaggy. And I was actually first overall at both tournaments. We won them, and I felt like even though there was a long layoff, that like really the video helped me a lot, kind of simulate and get my mind ready for what I was going to expect. And kind of when you're playing the game, as you guys know, it kind of slows down when you're in the zone. So, and if you kind of know what to expect, or you've seen an opponent before, you're familiar with their style, you know the tendencies, so you're just that much quicker to react. And that's what Laser Quest is kind of that, combining the react. No, I'm sorry. Just combining that your own style, your accuracy. If you're the type to impose what you do onto someone else, or if you're really countering and opening up, or using someone else's aggression to do and manipulate their movements in the way that you want to create tags for yourself. And I feel like I'm the second guy. Like I kind of, anticipate things and open up targets, or let my opponent open themselves up, depending on the style. You're more kind of elite players. That's definitely more of my approach. If it's just someone I should tag super quickly, just get the tag kind of thing. But, it's kind of a different process, I guess you can say. But so, yeah, that was kind of when I came back to the LQ scene, and how my approach, I feel, maybe other people do this, maybe not, but it definitely helps me. And it wasn't the last time that I did this as well. So
interesting. So one tournament that you probably heavily prepared for was the infamous WLC in 2017, where you finally went over and won North America Championship in Europe. So tell me about that. First of all, what was the roster for that team?
The roster changed like a bunch of different times. So it was always it was Enemy, myself, and Colombo. I think originally we had like Trixie, like Kyle, or maybe not Kyle, no, Trixie, Excalibur, and Corwin. Yeah, I think it was like Trixie, Excalibur, Corwin, myself, Enemy, and Colombo. And then Adam couldn't go. Trixie, we just decided it wasn't a good idea to play with someone from overseas and keep it kind of a North American team. So then we added Justin and then Spam to go along with Corwin. So it was those three Toronto guys, and then the three Houston guys who went over there. So we started practicing. Houston didn't have a center; we had closed, so we would drive Ramiro and I to San Antonio to go practice, which is like 2.5 hours there, 2.5 back.
Wow.
So, yeah, and we started practicing probably. Tournament was in July. We probably started practicing around March, and we would go probably we probably went like twice a month up until about May. And then from May and June, we went every week to practice. And it was just the three of us. And quite frankly, it was probably the best practice I've ever had. Just only aiming at Enemy and Colombo. It's, tags are going to be tough.
Yeah.
So, and after not playing in a tournament since 2012, this was even a longer layoff than I had from 2009 till 2011 or 12 or whatever.
Yeah.
So even more so, the doubt and kind of like, where is my game kind of crept in. Enemy had gone to tournaments and things like that throughout, so he wasn't, rusty in that regard. So, obviously if I can tag him, I can tag anybody, kind of thing. That was my mindset. So, once I felt like my game was coming back in those practices, that, I was confident. The only unknown was really that French team, quite frankly, Team Phoenix,
Yes.
who hadn't lost, if I remember correctly, in
Forever.
like 3 years, 3 or 4 years or something like that. And they won, ELCs and, just kind of owned that whole tournament scene over there for quite a long time. And, I know a few people from North America had played them before. And, I know like Smurf had played them and spoke highly of, Toss and Vamp and Raiden in particular. And, obviously I was familiar with Link and Cam because they came down to WLC 2012. I kind of remember them, the one that we won in Canada.
Yeah, I remember that.
So we can go back to that one. That's fun.
Yeah, definitely.
So our mind was really focused on them, and obviously trying to find a strategy given that maze, which was, as Lewis will tell you, so unique and unlike anything that I play, especially in the United States, that has like just kind of like your 3-tower, basic setup. So not without going into the maze to too much detail or anything, it was just a combination of like extremely wide open. There was kind of like 2 platforms like that were like the tower, like, one was on the front side of the arena. Then there was like kind of like ramps that led you to the back side, so we developed a strategy, as a team, and Justin, was great in that regard to bring that, kind of strategic component to what we were doing as well, in particular, and Spam had a lot of great kind of insights as well. So really, I think our experience kind of won the day. We probably, I don't know, I think our skill was, right up there with them, but we forced them into kind of our style of game in that double quest, to where we didn't want them to be so mobile. We wanted every tag to be earned. So we congested all of us into basically the back part of that tower, and we had assigned spots, and Spam had like a number system based on certain spots in the tower. I still have that map. So we felt that they had to match up kind of with us. And based on playing them in prelims, we kind of noticed like a pattern of behavior, where if one of them wasn't doing well, or if you tag them like a couple of times, they would leave. And that's just huge. Like you can't do that. So especially given where we were positioning. So you can't play the floor in that arena. You were dead. Just the sensitivity of the packs, and you were dead. So we were upstairs. We knew our spots, and they matched up, with us. And the first game we lost by, I want to say like 450, 500 points or something.
It was closer to 600. It was huge.
Yeah. And but I think this is just kind of where, our experience kind of won out. We didn't panic. We felt confident, that we could, reciprocate that back to them the final game, and we did. So if we were playing a more experienced team, like from the old NAC days, if you have a lead like that, you're not going to go in there. Yeah, you're gonna minimize the scoring, as much as you can, to where you guys know what I mean. So, but they hadn't lost in 3 or 4 years. So we kind of, hey babe, we used that aggressiveness and their overconfidence as our advantage, and we knew they'd come play the same exact type of game, and we took it to them. I mean, we beat them pretty badly that last game, enough to obviously overtake, and I think we won by maybe like 200 points,
Yep.
So I think but when we were coming out of the arena, I mean, their heads were down. I think they were like slapping walls. We were cheering. I mean,
So-
we knew.
They knew.
In my perspective, okay, so just that everyone understand how it works. At WSC, I marshaled the finals because I spoke French and English, and I was biased, really. So how I saw the finals.
We picked marshals, because it was very.
Yep.
That was a consistent process. But yeah,
Yep.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So the second game of finals, I was in a cubby like this. I had you in front of me, Colombo on my right, and I had Raiden and Vamp, and then I had Toss on my left. So I was marshalling there, and it was insane. From my perspective of how I saw it going, I myself didn't understand why the French team. I think for them is they wanted to beat you guys on the second game as they did on the first one, which, like we said before, strategized shouldn't have been that. They shouldn't have played it like that. What happened happened, but like you said, when they were getting tagged too much, they were switching. And I remember a perfect situation like it was yesterday. You had Vamp in front of you. You were tagging him nonstop. He switched and went to Colombo's where the ramp was. And you guys both switched because you were having better options on them. And then you dominated. And when the game ended, I won't say names or whatever, some of them died down and was crying. Like, I was there. I was the marshal, and I remember it. It was just, they knew they got their ass headed to them. And it was just crazy because they were dominating. They were winning the whole thing, and everything crashed at that moment. And, yep, it was amazing to see. It was one of the best experiences I've ever had to see that happen.
Yeah, and I would say, you asked me what my favorite tournaments are. That's definitely, probably maybe number 2, to be honest with you. Just because, Ramiro and Vince and I, really always talked about trying to win overseas, and to accomplish that, especially after like a 5-year layoff, and kind of the way we did was really special. And playing with those Toronto guys, and the mutual, even though we go at each other all the time, but the mutual respect that we shared for each other, especially from an experience standpoint, and in terms of people's voice in our discussions, and a clear understanding of what we were trying to do, and trust in executing what we intended to do and not deviating from that. We were all on the same page, and that just can't be said enough in terms of how important that is if you are trying to win a tournament like that, a truly high competitive tournament. It's just not easy to do, and that was a great experience playing with them, and obviously Ramiro and Vince always. So that was a good one.
And something else I remembered, after the tournament at the bar, I remember sitting there and you were talking to Link, and you told him the exact same thing you said before the other tournament. You told him that you looked at his tapes, you looked online how they were playing, and I remember that. I remember that like it was yesterday. You told him. You told him in English. I told him in French that you looked at his tapes, see how Link was playing, how Cam was playing, just to get the upbeat of them. And I was like, wow, that's dedication. You haven't played in 5 years, and you're looking for hours and hours. And I was saying that's how we were doing basketball. I remember you even saying that's what you did. You looked at tapes of the basketball. You did the same thing as in Laser Quest. You looked at how you were doing it, how they were coming back up, and you guys won it.
Yep, that's exactly right. You studying film, there's a reason why coaches do it in every single sport. Why not our own? I'm not like, so good to where I can't feel like I can get an advantage by studying something. It's whatever to me, so especially kind of taking that time off, I wanted every advantage I can get. So I really watched one video in particular. It was I want to say like Torlu something.
Yes, sorry, team.
Crawley. So I don't know. It was. You can find it on YouTube. I'm probably butchering the name, but around like, I don't know, maybe like the 3-minute mark or so. I haven't seen it in like 3 years now. But Vamp and Cam play in a one-on-one in the front of the house there, and I probably watched that, God, like 100 times. Just kind of like pausing certain things. But seriously, but like watching Vamp in particular. And if you go back and all you watch, and if you go and watch that, pay attention to what Vamp does when Cam is on his shoulder waiting for him to come up. He pulls like a move where he goes for a front, and he's quick But when you know that there's a pattern of behavior there, that his most comfortable thing is to either try to get distance and kind of go mid-range, but if he can't do that, what his opening move is very telling. And playing in that area where Lewis saw us play, it's very conducive to up close play. So when I have that advantage over him and I can use that to kind of open up and open up that front in particular. When you watch the video, you'll understand, to kind of bait the shoulder to open up the front. I mean, it worked pretty easily. So yeah, again, film study, you might as well, or just to even think, if you don't have film, just you've played whoever, who you're going to play against, think about what they're good at and try to take that away from them. That's the best advice I can give.
Well, obviously, it yielded you a world championship amongst.
Yeah.
And another of your big victories I want to talk about is obviously we had, unfortunately, the Vegas center closed, but I believe the last ever Vegas 5-man was for big money and was actually a pretty competitive tournament, and came on top once again, right?
Yes. So first I got to give huge thanks to Andy, Bad Andy, for saving our butt that tournament, because we were supposed to have Marine. He had a personal thing going on. So we found out that he wasn't able to go, unfortunately, like days before. So Bad Andy stepped up, in a moment's notice and saved our butt. So he joined our team along with it was Kyle, Capri, Enemy, Colombo, and myself. So the 4 Houston guys. And it was awesome playing with them. We got an Airbnb, all stayed together. It was a really fun time. I had never played with Kyle or Bad Andy, so to kind of check that box off, to play with two legends like that, was just awesome. Just to be in the maze with them, and it's an honor. So I was very confident in our team. Obviously, we were expecting to play the team that we ended up playing in finals, which was Hot Dice, Corwin, Sushi, Cam, Trixie, and Wolverine. Really strong team.
Pretty solid team, yeah.
We, and kind of an error on my part, quite frankly, I expected them to do something different than what they did. I thought that they would not spread out, but be in different parts of the maze within Vegas. But to my pleasant surprise, that both games went to the right tower in Vegas.
Okay.
And rightfully so. If you have an experience with Vegas, that right tower is probably the most historical tower that's ever been created. Like the level of games that have been played there throughout the course of the history of the Vegas 5-man, and hosting NAC and stuff like that so many times. The right tower, it's just legendary.
Yes.
And also not just because of the players that have competed there, but there's so many different ways where you can win in that tower. Like you can take the nest, and overload the front ramp. You can take the back corridor and the back ramp, and there's a lot of different philosophies that have all been successful, in terms of that tower. So to have it play out there on its last night for that last tournament, it's the way it needed to end. And
pretty epic.
Yeah, we were fortunate to come out on top, and we got the win. So it was pretty awesome.
So one thing that we haven't talked much about during this podcast so far is side tournaments. We've mentioned a few here and there, but one thing I want to get at is you're probably, like, if you're going to play a side tournament, a betting man would be wise to bet on you, right? So has the highest percentage to win, right?
Yeah, so I've played 57 tournaments, and I had to go back and do all this prior to the podcast or whatever. So I've only played 57 tournaments for a Southern player is probably equivalent to 150 for a Northern player. I've won 30 of them. So
wow.
I remember when I was kind of creeping up on 50%, around that time. And, it was kind of becoming like a thing. I forgot who threw it out. It might've been like Exodus from Westland or something like that. Like what's your win percentage? And for some reason that rings a bell. And so I was like, oh, I feel like I win a decent amount. And so I started to kind of keep a tally from that point. And, that 57 and 30 includes corporate tournaments as well. So, back in the South, there really wasn't, because just logistically it was tough with how spread out our centers were, or people just didn't want to host tournaments. We really only had like a few tournaments a year. There's like we'd have a Houston 4-man. Obviously there's regionals. NAC is 3. You play Vegas 4, and then maybe something else. So it was, if I was lucky to get 5 tournaments in a year, where a guy like Kyle is probably playing like 5 over the span of like 2 months back in the day. So it was different for us. It was different for us. But yeah, I'm proud of that. To me, the most important thing will always be winning, first and foremost. However you have to do it. If you have to be the top scorer and score 800 a game, so be it. If you're playing a support role, so be it. Whatever. I kind of pride myself on winning and scoring a shitload of points, but also being able to play within a team concept as well. So yeah, it's something I'm very proud of, and lucky to play with a lot of great teammates along the way. It's obviously not me. So
I was gonna say, either you're a stacker or
we're all guilty, but yeah. So I don't know if this is the time, but when the Ronin Darkstorm Marine thing was happening, that was obviously a very special thing for them. And I have to mention this, because it was mentioned in the last podcast. Like Ronin, not to take away from any accomplishments, Ronin, rightfully so, he's incredible. At his best, was one of the best players of all time. I played a couple tournaments with him. WLC 2012 being one of them, and it was an honor to play with him. But I can't understate like how awesome and valuable Marine and Darkstorm were as well. There might, I don't know what the perception is, in the North, but those guys were, in my opinion, like every bit as good as John, man. They were just so versatile. They could score points. John got a lot of the kudos, but Randy and Jason are awesome. So that trio was great. So kind of going to the next trio, my special trio of brothers, and Vince and Ramiro, who are Enemy and Colombo. We felt like we, really did something very similar, and are proud of our record together. So we played 13 tournaments together, corporate included, and we're 12-1. We've lost one tournament when we've been on the yeah. So, and that includes, a couple Vegases, a couple WLCs, regionals, NAC. The only tournament we've lost where we've all been on the same team was NAC 2012. So, if we ever play together again in the future, which I hope we do, but it's not looking too likely for that to happen. Not speaking for myself, but maybe others. We'll see. It's a special group, and I'd be hard pressed to find any trio that can beat us, quite frankly. So.
Okay, so I have a feeling those names are gonna appear a little bit in the next questions I'm gonna ask you. I want to know, what's your top 5 of all time?
Ooh, man. Okay. Even though I knew this was coming, it's so hard. So, okay, so obviously I got to put emphasis on NAC. Just as Adam did. I don't weight it quite as much as Adam does, because I do feel that that's unfair to, there's just geographical luck involved. So I feel like a player like Kyle, if he were in the Dallas area and playing for NRH or something, he'd probably be considered the best player of all time. You know what I mean? So, but you do have to consider all of the accomplishments. So that being said, my top 5 of all time, I would have enemy number 1 without a doubt. To me, Vince is the easiest player, one of the easiest players ever to play with. You don't have to. He's not selfish. The guy just scores a bazillion points, and totally within the concept of what we're trying to accomplish. So we're not setting up to maximize completely what Vince does. Obviously we want him to be supported in an area that gives him the greatest vantage point on what we feel or where we feel the targets are going to be. But to me, he's the best natural ability, lefty, 6'3", the frame, dog fighting, scoring, versatility. He's just he's.
Yep.
Second, I would
Wait, before you proceed, are you doing those in order?
You
don't have to.
I'm gonna try. Yeah. I'll do it.
Okay.
Sure. Second, I'm gonna go with Kyle.
Okay.
To me, Kyle is probably the closest thing you can get to Vince. I feel that Kyle from 2001 until probably 2008 was probably the highest level of sustained excellence that that's a long period of time that the game has probably ever seen. It's unfortunate, for his NAC, teams throughout the years. He did what he could, but to me, you plug Kyle in on any, situation that I just described before, and Kyle's, probably considered the greatest player of all time.
Yeah.
He's incredible. Third, I'll probably put Excalibur. Again, stats. No, he's great. And Adam and I are actually closer than people think. Yeah. but I'll still kick his ass. This list is obviously excluding myself.
Yes, obviously.
So yeah, Adam. In terms of knack play and taking a God pack, and that's not an insult at all. That's a role that he shouldn't be in anything else. And Kyle would take the best pack. Vince, everyone I just named would as well, myself included. Adam is probably the best full maze knack style player ever. And that is the pinnacle of our sport. So that's pretty high compliment, to him. The reason I have him at 3 is because I am incorporating, some of the not side tournaments, but major side tournaments. I do feel that there are circumstances that would not phase Vince or Ryan that would phase Adam. And what I mean by that is maybe a tight, congested tower with elite players in there, where Adam can't feast. Like the tags aren't as quick. So his point scoring is minimized in that regard in terms of his ability to see the arena and score, very quickly because of just maybe more downtime or not winning the fight in front of him. Or if he does win the fight in front of him, it's harder to get that second one because, super experienced, great players, the best of the best, they know how to kind of move and not allow you to go on runs like that. So I'm getting very nitpicky, obviously, but I feel that there are kind of situations like that where Adam is just not quite on the level of Vince and Ryan in particular.
Well, please be as nitpicky as you want to be. This is actually super interesting.
Yep.
So that's my take on that. This is where it gets tough. I'm at number 4. I will go with Sifu Mo. Okay. And to Adam alluded to this as well. It's hard to argue with 4 NACs. Being the best player on those teams, and also Mo's ability to sacrifice first place finishes, instead of that, he'll throw in some first place, but he'll rack up a lot of, third through fifths, taking, maybe the fourth or fifth pack in a set, doing so in the mix of where other God packs, top players, top packs are in the most contested, important area to control. That's incredible.
That's impressive. Yeah.
And it's such a luxury to have. Obviously NRH benefited quite a bit from it, to where they can give the number one to Sector. James can have something that he feels comfortable with, and obviously Ricky brought them added versatility as well. But
Yes.
yeah, Mo's just great. Just he tags people quickly. He's super long arms, probably the best ever at tagging a shoulder. He'll tell you that as well, I'm sure. But yeah, tough matchup. Mo's great, so he's probably my number 4.
Only one spot left.
Number 5, I gotta go with my boy Colombo.
Interesting.
Yeah. So people speak a lot, and for me, I got to really elaborate on this one because it's very unpopular to not have Corwin in a list like this.
Yep.
I've played with Corwin a couple times. Corwin's incredible. He should, if it's like a resume thing, he definitely should be on this. The sustained level that Corwin's had is incredible, and he's still incredible. But that's how I feel about Ramiro. Except Ramiro, and this is probably a product of what I was talking about before about the South just doesn't really give each other kudos. Where the North, it's like common knowledge of everyone's accomplishments. So Ramiro, he definitely won't tell you this, but I will now. He's won 6 regionals, through the South, which is a tough thing. 2 NACs, 3 WLCs in 3 different countries, multiple Vegases. Been the top scorer, even on our 2007 NAC team. Ramiro was our best player that year on a team that had Vince, myself, and Capri. I feel like Ramiro had the most consistent year, and I think Vince would tell you that as well. Maybe not knowing Vince, but Ramiro just understands how to win, in a way that that he was taught to me. So, I really credit my, career in large part to him, what he taught me about the game, like conceptually and strategically, and also from, kind of a, just a play style standpoint as well. The 3 people I credit are him, Vince, enemy, because when I went to college, which was by San Antonio, he would be the only person I'd be able to play with. So I just played him one-on-one over and over and over again.
That's cool.
Yeah. And early on, Capri Sun, is the other. So I know you asked me about the top 5, but I have to, kind of mention them. When I first started, Capri was the best player in Houston by far. And I would just call him up and be like, come play me. It was like, and he would, and I wasn't near on that level, and he would sacrifice his time to come on a Friday night, which was not our scheduled member night, just to come play, a 15, 16-year-old kid who he would kick the shit out of. So he got me a lot better. Ramiro taught me everything about the game, and Vince took me to a whole nother level. So that's my top 5, and they're just all incredible players, and there's a lot of others that are definitely deserving to be in there as well. So
all solid players.
Yeah,
a great top 5.
They are. Your list is pretty similar to the Truth, obviously, except you have a more like Southern touch to it. But just the accomplishments that you listed about Ramiro are impressive, and something that I consider myself to be kind of like a Laser Quest historian. I know a lot about the history of Laser Quest, but I did not know that he was that dominant for it. They kind of flew under the radar.
Yes, it's very similar to Corwin's accomplishments. Corwin obviously racked up more NACs, after, kind of like we retired and whatnot. But Ramiro's resume at the time of retirement was probably the most impressive resume ever, quite frankly, because he had the NACs to match, he had the regionals to match, he had more Vegases, and he had 3 WLCs in 3 different countries, which was a record.
Yes.
That just needs to be known as well. So
slightly different take. Top 5 in their prime.
Top 5 in their prime, and I like the way Adam did this with not mentioning the same
Sure.
players. So I'm actually gonna go by year as well.
Okay.
2002 Infestor was incredible. Again, Southern bias, but I think anyone who played him, especially at NAC that year as well, when he won 8 of the 12 games, he was just a monster.
That's insane. Yeah.
I think he won like 15 of the 24 corporate games that he played that year. And these are this is 27 people in the maze. There's a lot of variables and good players in each of these games that can find the right situation to rack up points and score. So to win like 14, 15 out of 24 games, I mean, that's just incredible.
Crazy. That's crazy.
So Infestor is definitely on there. The next one I'm going to go to is which direction do I want to go? Or really pick a year. Probably Bad Andy.
Yes.
Bad Andy. I may not pick a year for him, and this is a compliment because from 2001, I believe he or Clarkness was first overall at NAC that year in Colorado Springs. Westland made finals, and it seemed like Houston and Westland would kind of alternate. They made finals in 01. We made it in 02. They made it in 03 when we weren't there. We made it in 04, and then together we went in 05, and then they made it again in 06. So, they went to 4 NAC finals, under his leadership and play. And, Andy's level of play throughout that 5 years in particular, and what he did, not just from a NAC level, but also, in the Summer Slams that, you just hear stories about with him in the nest. He's incredible. So definitely Andy has to be in there for sure. Next, how many I got? 3 more?
3 more. Yep.
Ronan. Same things Adam said, that from that 05 to around 05 to 06 stretch, winning all those tournaments, the level of play and dominance. I reward winning, and Ronan did it at an extremely high clip. So definitely Ronan. Let's see here. Hocus Pocus. He won every game in the 1998 Western Regional. Pretty incredible. He was the best player on back-to-back Phoenix Pyro, NAC championship teams. Teams that had 007. In 99, they had Carnage. They lost Carnage. Yes. And then in 2000, they added Tezu and didn't have Carnage. Hocus was just kind of that, old school, take you to a tower, just super accurate, nothing super flashy, because again, you're talking 97 to 99 here, and just score a buttload of points. And everyone knew Hocus Pocus back then, and yes. When I started in 2001, those were the stories I'd hear. I'd hear about Hocus, so he's definitely in that conversation as well. So what do I got there? I got Hocus, Andy, Ronan, and Infestor. Is that right?
Infestor, yeah. Yep. One more.
Ooh. I'm gonna go with Damp. So a little bit of a curve.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Yes.
I've only played him once. But seeing kind of what he did in the arena, he didn't shy away from a dogfight, which is a very important thing. It also matters how you score points. Okay. There are players who score lots of points, but who are also very removed from the game. The way that Toss scored points, who's his teammate, probably one of the best point scorers ever. Right. I mean, it's amazing. But, Toss approaches the game very differently than Vamp, where Vamp may not score as consistently as Toss, but he scores enough, and his impact is definitely felt more because he's making it harder for other people to be comfortable. And that's something that's a very important thing to have on a team that goes a long way to make other people's roles a lot easier. And when you're the most talented player, you have to take on that burden, that responsibility to do that, to have your team be successful. And what I saw from Vamp at WLC 2017, and also I wasn't there unfortunately, but from what I heard from Vince, who played him a lot at that Vegas a few months later in 2018, when Vamp really wrecked some people badly.
Yes.
Vamp is one of the top 5 players in the world, without a doubt. So I got to put him in there. Yeah.
Fair enough. I think even amongst the French, where there's a lot of egos, there's a lot of rivalries and stuff. For the past few years, there's been consensus that Vamp is on another level. He might not be the best at certain elements of the game, like you said, but he's definitely the best rounded player for sure. Yeah. Interesting. I did not know. I thought you would go more like of a southern way. I did not know you would go overseas for that spot. It's super interesting.
Yeah. I was really impressed. He's a great player and a really cool guy as well. Very very nice guy.
And this, I don't know if you still want to do this one because you've been like less active, but top 5 current players. Do you have an opinion on those?
Oh yeah, that's a tough one for me. I guess I gotta throw some love. I'll stick with kind of across the seas. I'll go with Trixie.
Yes.
That's another one that I wish I had the opportunity to play against him or more. Because he's such a great guy and great player.
Yep.
Who continues to do well anytime he comes here, or what I see he accomplishes. Just from looking at stuff on my laptop, being a fan of his from afar. So I'll go with Trixie. I'm gonna throw in. Give me a sec here. I'll throw in Wolverine.
Okay, Andy. Yeah.
I played him a decent amount at that Vegas, and I was impressed with what I saw from him. And then kind of seeing the results that he's been able to put up over the last couple years, it's hard to deny him as one of the remaining top 5 or so players.
Yep.
Let me see here. That's got Voltage.
Yes.
When I saw him at Vegas in 2019, we were in the left tower, and he was actually like faster than I remember. Like I don't know if he maybe I'm getting slower. So yeah, he was just really really good player. I had played against him before, when he kind of had all the Blue Man,
Yes.
Richmond teams, with Ronan and all that. Going back to that Winter Slam story that Adam told. So yeah, I put Voltage in there. Wolverine, Trixie. I guess I gotta say Toss. I hate to be so European like biased, but I mean they're really good. Those guys are the best in Europe, and after kind of mentioning who I felt are maybe some of the, I didn't put them as my best 5 in North America, but I mean these guys are really good players. I mean Toss is kind of like a knock. Like the guy is probably one of the best scorers that the game has ever seen. Lewis, you can speak on that too, man, if you want.
Yeah.
He's just really gifted scorer.
He's a machine.
No doubt.
I just remember playing him in, like he was not playing super good teams, but when we played him in WLC 2010, there were 7-minute games, and he put something like 1,200 points one game or something ridiculous like this.
Well, I didn't know that you were there. That's awesome. Yeah. Now, see, he in
2010, yeah.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, if I heard the story right, Josh from NRH Solo, really, took him out of his comfort zone in the finals and made it hard for him by kind of following him a little bit. I could be wrong there. I don't know if you heard anything similar to that, but yeah, Toss kind of positions himself to where he has kind of an automatic tag that's standing right next to him.
Yep, and then he tags all the rest. Yep,
and then he scores. And the way the Europeans play, it's not all that smart because everyone is very tunnel visioned and engaged with who they're fighting at that time. And Toss just happens to be able to see the entire arena and is very smart in terms of, positioning himself in a very good spot by a certain person that he's able to keep down. So you're scoring 10 points every 3 seconds, here and there. And then within that 3 seconds, he's getting, tag here, tag there, get tagged. And that's kind of how he goes about it. Now that becomes a lot tougher when you can't tag the person right in front of you and all the tags are difficult. But yeah, he's awesome. So
one more.
Yeah, I think I don't know how many that is. But
Four.
I think that's all.
I think.
All right, I'll dig deep. One more. Shoot, who am I forgetting, guys? Like this is tough.
Justin now.
I forgot about Justin.
My personal bias is Justin. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I gotta put. Yeah, no. What Justin's done. And Justin went on his own long win streak. Himself. I talked a lot of shit to him about it because I always challenge who he's playing, but that's just me being me. No disrespect. In all honesty, winning's winning. So, props to Justin and being his teammate and probably other than Vincent Ramiro and players I played with, just a number of times, to play with Justin only once. He's probably the player that I view the game very similarly to, in terms of what his philosophy is and what my philosophy is, in terms of going about trying to win and the importance on kind of staying together and that in that regard. So we were very philosophically aligned. It was very easy to play with him. He has no agenda, no personal agenda, at all in terms of what his stats are or anything. He played a very difficult position at that WLC in a cubby that kind of he had to worry about kind of the right and left, which is frustrating, but trusted in what we were doing, and we got the job done. So yeah, definitely Justin, and thank you for the reminder there. So he's definitely deserving of that spot, and should probably be higher, quite frankly. So yeah.
Okay. So one section I wanted to address with you, and I know we've been touching a little bit on this throughout the podcast, and we're running close to 2 hours now.
Sorry, man.
Good. I might release segments. We'll see. I want to touch with you on you obviously have an approach to the game where you're in it to win it. If you're going to play the game, you're going to respect it, and you're going to play it to the best of your abilities, and you're going to win. So tell me a little bit about that mentality. What sets you apart from all the other Laser Quest player mentally so that you're so focused to win?
Yeah, I think my sports background had a lot to do with it, just kind of understanding, what sacrifice means and preparation and things like that. It's important to, I'm sure if you really self-reflect, I'm sure a lot of people that are listening to this probably approach practice from a standpoint of trying to score the most that they can in each and every game and caring about, the results of that. Practice is designed to make yourself better, to put yourself in positions that are uncomfortable, not caring or giving a shit about the results or anything like that, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that does matter is how you're able to perform when the lights come on in a tournament, in a big game. And if you're not practicing the right things and you don't have the right kind of approach, then you're not, more often than not, you're probably not going to be too successful. So that was kind of my philosophy, and I think it translates from just my sports upbringing and what I learned from all my teammates, specifically Ramiro, along the way. So that's my take on kind of mentality and how it relates to practice and being a good teammate in particular. So.
And you coach well, not professional sports, but like you're a coach, right?
I used to. So for 9 years, yeah, throughout from 2008 until 2017, I coached high school basketball, and I was fortunate to coach quite a few Division I players. One player that was in the NBA, another player that's playing professional ball overseas. So yeah, I've been blessed to coach some pretty talented and great kids. So yeah, to kind of understand how to manage, a team dynamic, I think definitely helped me as well.
At which point did you become I guess at some point you became kind of like the de facto leader of Houston, right?
Yeah. So I would say, Ramiro was probably always the leader. And again, I was always the youngest person on the team. But I did have the respect of my teammates. They knew how much I cared about them, about winning, probably to a fault in their eyes, maybe in some respect. But I would say that my voice was probably started to really be heard in the voice of our meetings and strategy in 2005. I felt like I saw an evolution of the game. Really like an eye-opening experience, really from that Brampton Triple Quest, where we were still very packed into a tower philosophically. And so I felt like I kind of ushered in, the new kind of version of Team Houston in terms of how we needed to evolve to be successful in, given the abilities of all of our players. So, Ramiro and I would have a lot of conversations about that and how to kind of go about, winning in terms of what made sense for us.
Interesting.
I want to kind of segment into, obviously we talked about your winning percentage. So it's obviously not all from stacking, although you did play with some pretty great players in your days. So how do you go about when you're building a team? So what do you look for when you're building a team?
Yeah. So, obviously, I'm going to ask, like Vince, Ramiro, Ray, there's so many few active players now. Early on, I'll kind of address this, when there was just kind of, we were more active. The way I view building a team is to have players who are versatile, who can play within a concept that I feel is kind of a winning style of play. And I'm sure there's a lot of players out there that I wasn't able to play with that can easily fall into that description. But, there's definitely players, that don't understand the importance of being a support person. You can still get your point, but you have to play within the structure of the game in order to win. So I look for kind of those intangibles. So over the course of the years, who I see have success on various teams, side tournaments, NAC, what have you. So I'm not probably giving you an exact example, but whoever fits that description that isn't really looking for their own stats, that can kind of fall into a team concept to get a win.
Okay, fair enough.
And I really reward dogfighting skills as well, because I feel philosophically that the most important thing in anything is to be able to take down the person in front of you. If you can't do that at the highest level, you're going to be exposed, because the best of the best are not going to let you score freely. So if you can't tag the person in front of you, then it's going to be very hard to win. So, and if you may not be the greatest at it, but and that's where the team kind of comes into play. But when you're separating the best of the best, you got to be able to dogfight. Period. And the way I philosophically approach it I don't want any points to be earned in a cheap way. So any tournament I play, I'm trying to find a way to make every tag earned. We know where those tags are coming from and how they're earned, to where if a team beats us, they beat us. But they're not going to beat us by this person or this person or this area was left unattended and this guy went plus 35 in a double quest or whatever. That cannot happen ever. If it does, then shame on us. They have to be earned. So that's what I'm looking for.
Cool.
And I guess it would also make a lot of sense if, on the majority of the teams that you're in, like you're part of the team, Vince is part of the team, like you got point scoring, covered. It would make sense that you're looking for support players, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Next segment that I want to get onto, I haven't shown you these questions, but this is going to be a little bit more on the lighter side. Ask you some, and Louis will ask you as well some questions that basically I want a genuine response from you. Louis, do you want to start?
You know you're going to get that, so.
Cool. The first question I have, you answered it before, but to summarize it more, which is the best overseas player in your opinion?
Yeah, Vamp. And kind of what I was just talking about, he can win those one-on-ones. He doesn't shy away from the one-on-ones. He understands the importance of playing in an area that is the most kind of like important to not give up and fight for. So yeah, Vamp would be the best overseas player in my mind.
Cool.
In those 30 wins that you've had, what's the weakest team you've ever won with?
Oh, that's I would say it's got to be like a mixer, I guess. Something like that. Well, I guess everyone's getting like a mixer. Oh man. I guess I do stack. Who knows? Okay, no, this isn't a disrespect. This is just like given the how competitive the tournament was.
Sure.
It was not a weak team at all, especially when I tell you the roster. But I would say WLC 2012.
Right.
It was me, Vince, Colombo, and Ronan. So you're like, how's that a weak roster? We were supposed to have, I think, Kyle and Marine or something on that team. No, Kyle and Darkstorm. Sorry, Kyle and Darkstorm. Supposed to be on that team, and they had to drop like super last minute or something like that. And we added Falcon X and Smurf, who are great, excellent players. And Smurf had won a WLC, but going into Canada, into Mississauga, and beating Adam, Corwin, Justin, that Canadian team on their home soil with what we felt like was, maybe not the best version of the United States that we had to offer. That was when I talked about kind of the top wins, that would definitely be in the top 3 to 5 as well. That was an awesome win. And for the record, I have not lost a tournament in Canada. I have to note that.
Oh yeah, Trina, Louis. When is it?
Right.
You can be on my team.
You can come up to that. So next question. We've known you won with NAC with Houston. If you had a choice, which other team would you have loved to win NAC with?
Mesa.
Oh, interesting.
Mesa was always knocking on the door. I really respect those guys. I have great respect for the Ryans, Chad. Obviously, rest in peace as well. I was fortunate enough to play a tournament of terror in Tulsa with Chad. And then obviously Blaze and Scooby. I played a tournament with as well at that Phoenix 4-man. Just a great group of guys. You can tell how much they love the game. How much it means to them, how hungry they are. They got close. That would definitely be the team that I would love to play with. And
they came, like you said, they came close. Like you said, they were always knocking on the door, right? They came for 2 years. They just couldn't quite finalize it. Louis. Let's see if I can re-add him to the broadcast. One sec. Welcome back.
Was it just me? Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay. You're back now.
Cool.
Did you hear my answer, Louis?
Yeah, Mason.
Okay, cool.
He said Montreal.
Oh, we still
Your
live?
question, Louis?
You just re-added me, but
Yeah,
we're still live, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah, definitely.
So next question for you, Alex.
Where does the code name come from? Because
Yeah.
okay, you're obviously one of the best players of all time. But you would expect like like Carnage or like Enemy or like.
Oh man. Okay.
Really?
So yeah, I know it's weak, dude. I don't even like it, to be honest with you. So I was like this is like before 1997 when I went to that Best of the Rest and played that tournament. So I was like going to Laser Quest, like a birthday party or something, and that was the first time I played. I forgot what code name I was, but after that, my friends and I started, we kept going. We were like 11 years old, and I remember being in the car with my friend. His mom used to listen to oldies, and we were talking before, like, I want a code name that like no one's ever going to dream of thinking of. And so that song came on. I'm not going to sing it or anything like that, the Lollipop oldies song. And I'm like 11 years old, like, oh, that's it. Light bulb came on. I'll play as that. So then I played as that. I was a member, played with, all those Houston guys. So then when I came back in 2000, 2001-ish, that's what they knew me as. But
Right.
at that time I was like 15. I'm like, dude, I don't want to play as Lollipop. That's like, that sucks. And they're like, no, that's who you are. Like, that's how we know you. Sorry.
Yeah.
They like bullied me into it. So I'm like, God, no. I fought it. And they won out. So the name stuck. So
That
really
was
a good question to ask. Yes. Okay, so my question is, if it was a 4-man, which 3 other player would you have want to win a tournament that you've never won with?
Ooh. A 4-man. I'm gonna go with Infester.
Yep.
Just tons of respect for him. Was never able to play with him. We've been in communication kind of like after like when he kind of came back a couple of years ago and was on the scene again. It just never happened. And obviously to play with him like during his prime would have been super great. But I would say Infester. I'm gonna say Hocus Pocus. Just great respect for him. I got super excited when I saw him and Nate's name on the Denver list and the Phoenix 4-man list. They have an opening. Give me a call. You never know. So I'll say Infester, Hocus, and Dark Angel. I always wanted to play with Ricky, just so I wouldn't have to play against him. Just a pain, just to have that guy on your team that can just be a nuisance to other people would just be awesome. So, and they're just great guys. They're all 3 of them are really great guys at the end of the day, and it'd be awesome to play with them.
That'd be a solid team, top to bottom too.
Yeah.
Okay, next question.
All right.
Next question. So obviously, Bill Gates is gonna see this podcast and he's gonna get an interest in laser tag, and he's gonna put $1 million on the line. And there's gonna be a triple quest between you, between Ramiro, and between Vince. Who wins that triple quest and why?
I'm gonna say me, because I am just way more in shape than they are right now. Honestly, that's probably the truth. Yeah, I would think it would be based on our practices leading up to Vegas and WLC. It'd be a close one with me and Vince. Probably Ramiro, admittedly so. He's got a couple kids. Doesn't really get to get out too much and have time for himself. I like to stay in pretty good shape, but Vince's natural ability is pretty tough. But I'm gonna say me. I'd win.
Good. We get a percentage if you do win that, by the way.
You got it, man. I just any reason to freaking build a laser quest close to me would be great. So
That would be amazing. So next question for underrated players. So best ship pack player.
ooh, okay. I'm gonna go with Deep Freeze.
Oh wow!
It was really great. I got to think within a knack concept. When he was able to, get tagged like a total like 20 times or something over 3 games, you have to understand your role with the shit pack, and that's obviously not to bleed points, and be conservative about it. But what he did in 04 was probably the most spectacular shit pack performance that NAC has ever seen, quite frankly. From and part of that was just the circumstances of the gameplay, but Cliff did a great job with that. So I got to give Cliff some love.
Southern bias does not exist. It was all a rumor, by the way, because you've been giving a ton of love to like players on this podcast.
I'll try to stop that. So.
All right. So, who do you consider to be your biggest rival? I'm looking for a player, not a team. So, biggest rival.
Vince.
Okay.
Vince is my. Yeah, I judge myself based on where he is. He's the best. That's what my practice partner. I think your rival is probably always someone that you're close with. I would imagine that y'all two are your rivals. I would imagine that Adam and Corwin are their own rivals. I'm probably answering this question in a different way, but he's like a brother to me. But that's who I gauge myself off of.
Makes sense.
Now to give you all the answer that you give you all the answer that you really want, Adam. Adam.
There we go.
I wish that Houston were able to still stay like at the top of our game during that stretch of really like 08 to 2012.
Yes.
What the rivalry that Generation Toronto had is something that I'm jealous of.
Yep.
Quite frankly, but it is what it is. We had Houston had our run, a lot of great times. Obviously, it's tough to get that same satisfaction from traveling to compete against him or anyone else in some random side tournament. It's just you can't simulate big game stuff. So that's probably why I play so infrequently, is because I really try to maximize my time and money and whatever with life going on, with Vegas, maybe a WLC, and some of the big ones that I'm still able to play. I'd like to play more, but circumstances are tough. So, but yeah, Adam would be the other one.
All right, Vince and Adam, in that order.
Yeah.
I'll let you ask the other question. The other question, Alex.
Who's your biggest role model, Laser Quest, and why is it Ramiro?
No, it's Ramiro. Ramiro's like my brother. I was blessed by him and his wife. I am godfather to their son, Nico. So it's a relationship, that it's beyond friendship. So it's beyond Laser Quest. So yes. Yeah, Ramiro, for everything that he embodies as a person, his values, who he is, and obviously what he blessed me with is can't be understated. So it's just easy answer.
And last one. So if we teleport you back to the year is 2000 and you start playing again, and you need to build a roster that goes on to win 12 straight NACs. So, Mr. Master Team Builder, what is your dream?
Your dream.
And I'm excited to ask you this question because I know you're not just going to take the 12 best players or the 9 best players, right? Because you're cognizant of the fact that what it takes to win any
Exactly what you said. Yep.
So if I'm taking like the number one pack, I'm gonna do it by pack.
Cool, sure.
Well, the 9.
Interesting.
I'm gonna put Adam in the first pack. Go have fun.
Echo or Excalibur? No, I'm kidding.
Good one. I am going to let me try to work backwards a little bit here. I know I gave some love to Cliff, but for the number 9 pack, I'm going to go with Ricky from NRH Dark Angel. The number 8, I'm going to go with Nepenthe.
I don't
From
even
Lincoln?
know who that is.
From Lincoln.
Yeah,
Okay.
very fantastic.
Yeah. Then I'm going to go the number 7. I'm going to go with Darkstorm.
Interesting. Okay.
6, I'm going to have Pretender from Lincoln in that mid pack. So then I have 2 through 5. I'm going to put Kyle in number 2.
Number 2. Okay.
A little bit. I'm going to put Vince in 3.
You know you have to be on the team, right?
Yeah, I'm getting there. So I got Adam, Kyle, Vince.
Enemy.
Yep. And then so I got the 4 and 5 pack. I'm gonna put myself in 5, and I'm gonna put Ramiro in 4. Yes. And
So we've got.
Sorry, I just went like all over the place on you guys.
Other than the list them. We've got
I know, you know what's funny, and I just realized that I left out Mo, who was on my list of like top players of all time. Yeah, shoot. You know what? Just take me out and put Mo at 5. I don't care. I'll go watch and come up with a strategy for those guys, and just they won't need much. So yeah, we'll go with that. I gotta show Mo some love. So yeah.
You know what? All of those players, I'm not surprised. They're obviously been in all of the conversations that we've had tonight. Maybe the most surprising one would be Darkstorm, although he was amazing.
So I was fortunate to play. I played with Randy at a Vegas. We won together, and man, just incredible teammate. And that's kind of why I wanted to mention that. That trio. Randy was every bit that equal and just as responsible for those wins as John and Jason were. Just an incredible player. And I just saw the recent like top 10 Northern players of all time or whatever. I thought there was a list on the LQ discussion today or something like that. I could be wrong, but yeah, Randy's awesome. So I would definitely put him on there in terms of filling that role and knowing what I'm going to get from him, and playing within a kind of a support area given that number 7 or so pack.
Cool. All right. So as you well know, Denver is coming up. And I don't see you on any roster list. Is there a chance of you making an appearance?
Unfortunately, no, not for this one. My wife and I are trying to do some traveling, actually to France over the summer that coincides with those dates. I'm definitely not closed or opposed to playing again. I love the game. I'll always love the game. My closest center is 8 hours away in Tulsa. It's like the only center that's left in the South. And obviously, after telling y'all how much I like to prepare and the expectations I have for myself, I'd really have to reframe kind of my own expectations for myself in terms of what I would, be going for. And obviously, it's the social component of it all is really, at the end of the day, the special thing that like binds us all, just as Adam was saying. So, you're definitely going to see me again at some point, but just to kind of maximize the experience, the timing of it, and all that kind of stuff. That's when you'll see me. But yeah, I'll come back at some point. I just don't know when.
Well, I was talking about ELC, and you asked me for the dates, so we might get something there.
Lewis, the itch is always there.
Yeah,
I always want to play. If I could, I'd play every single tournament that there was. So yeah, that'd be an awesome trip. But I don't know if I can swing 2 trips to Europe in 1 year. That'd be a little difficult.
True.
I love it. You're gonna have to represent.
Yeah, you have the
Yeah.
having won, having traveled overseas, and you've won, so you have that experience already. So that'd be a boon to the team you would join, definitely. Okay, I think we're nearing on like the 3-hour mark now. If we join,
I
both
hope people are still tuned in, man. They're gonna have to listen to this on like 10 drives back and forth to work.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. Oh my God. I think we're getting pretty close to closing statements. Louis, is there anything you want to ask or any other questions that we have?
No. I just like usually want to thank everyone for tuning in, and we're trying to make the best of this, right? I think everyone that's tuning in, we're niche people that are actually listening, and that people that actually listen are giving us feedback. So we're actually happy that people are doing it. If it's even 5 people, 10 people, we're happy to do it. We're having fun. We're talking about Laser Quest for 3 hours, and it went like this, right?
Yeah.
Another thing. So just to keep everyone updated, there's a Phoenix tournament coming. So if everyone could reach out to that, most people go up to that Arizona 4-man. Montreal's going to have a 4-man in the second week of May is what we're looking at right now. I'll give more updates on that, try to get the most people out, and I'll let you have the last words.
Yeah, first I have to thank you guys. What you're doing, and just first having me on your podcast. I feel very honored to be on here. I enjoyed the one with Adam, just incredibly. What you're doing to kind of keep the game alive from a media standpoint, and kind of showing love to different players, myself included. It's very humbling. I just can't thank you guys enough for what you're doing. I think it's very well organized. I was able to experience kind of what y'all do and how you get this to take place. So if you're watching, and I hope you still are, these 2 guys are doing a great job, and give it consideration and care in what they're doing. It doesn't just get thrown together. So thank you guys for having me on. From the bottom of my heart, it really means a lot to me. And just keep doing it. I can't wait to watch who comes next and where y'all take this and the direction it goes. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on. This was an amazing experience, and I learned a lot about the history of Laser Quest.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely, I think we're doing this as long as guests are interested, as long as people want to come on, basically. So yep.
That's awesome.
All right, I'm going to end the segment here. Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, are we still on?
It didn't stop yet.